Georgia Tech fans are big mad at the college football playoff rankings, and it's easy to see why.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. He is Kenton Gibbs, former NC State defensive lineman and co-host of Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno, host of Locked On Canes. Kenton and I, along with Grayson Boone, will have a crossover episode later on this week to talk about Miami versus NC State. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is now the #1 sports podcasting network. Your team every day. We'll talk about some weird projections. The ESPN bracketology has Miami as the only ACC team in the college football playoff, even though Miami probably won't win the conference. Kenton, let's pull this right up because first, we start with Georgia Tech fans. Now, the last time that GT played, they lost by double digits on the road to your NC State Wolfpack, which is why Georgia Tech, has tumbled. But they haven't played since that game. They had a bye week, and then somehow Miami leapfrogs Georgia Tech during Georgia Tech's bye week. Miami just beat Syracuse. Now, obviously, I host Locked On Canes, and I'm happy to see Miami move up. I thought Miami should have been ranked a little higher than they were last week, where they were 8 spots behind Notre Dame, who they beat head-to-head at number 18. So listen, I'm happy Miami moved up, and there is a murky path for Miami to get into the college football playoff. I just can't really understand why they moved Miami in front of Georgia Tech after having them ranked behind Georgia Tech last week, and Georgia Tech hasn't played since. Can you explain this to me?
I can't explain it. Nobody can explain it, Donno. Nobody can explain this. At the end of the day, we are looking at a situation where multiple teams in the ACC are getting screwed all at once. Multiple. Yeah. For example, if we want to go with the, a team that's on the bubble in terms of being ranked, not being ranked, whatever, there was a graphic that came out today saying how many teams had beaten bowl-eligible teams, 4 or more bowl-eligible teams already this season. NC State was one of them. And yet saying that they should be ranked feels preposterous. Why? It feels preposterous in the face of, they play in the ACC and they have bad ACC losses. Well, how many other teams fit that criteria? There are teams. Donno, quick question. Is there a single team in this top 25 that has lost to the Florida Gators?
Yes, number 10.
Oh, okay.
Texas lost to Florida.
So we see multiple teams here with bad losses. And yet, a bad loss in the ACC keeps you out. We'll keep it going, shall we? You look at the teams that you just mentioned, Georgia Tech. How did you get moved back from a bye week? How? Yeah. What? With all due respect, who was Miami's opponent last week, Donno?
Syracuse. And last I checked, they're not very good.
I was just about to say, Syracuse pitched a drop this year since Steve Angeli got hurt.
No.
They're struggling with the concept of the forward pass. Forget talking about Fran Brown getting washed. The offense stinks so bad it's masking his scent. That's what's going on in Syracuse. And yet somehow beating them justifies jumping in front of Georgia Tech. What is happening to the Rambling Wreck right now is happening to the ACC at large because multiple teams of ours. There should be no doubt, no ifs, ands, no buts about it. Virginia has 2 losses. One to a bowl-eligible Wake Forest, the other to an NC State team that, again, is one of 5 teams in America with 4 wins over bowl-eligible teams. And you're telling me, they're just chopped liver. They should be there. Louisville, a bad loss to Cal, basically knocks them out, all but knocks them out of the top 25. And meanwhile, we see all these other teams still in it that, again, if we're talking about bad losses, if we're talking about non-competitive losses, multiple teams in here have that. But somehow the ACC is constantly penalized for their teams not showing up. But all of the other conferences, it's just great teams playing great teams. Stop it.
Vanderbilt is still number 14, and they don't have any good wins. Their resume is awful. Utah, like they're not in the SEC or the Big Ten. Utah's in the Big 12. Their resume is nothing, and they're number 13. Like this, and let me run through this for the audio listeners. The top five, I guess, didn't change. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2. Indiana nearly got upset by Penn State. They dodged a bullet there. I actually thought, if anything, they could have flip-flopped Texas A&M, put them at number 2, and flipped Indiana to number 3. But I guess they didn't want to penalize Indiana for a win, even if they should have won it more dominantly. So A&M 3rd, Alabama 4th, Georgia 5th, Texas Tech, Ole Miss at 7, Oregon at 8. They survived a scare against Iowa. Notre Dame 9, so they move up a little bit. Get used to that theme. Texas at number 10. They don't belong in the top 10. They don't belong in the top 12. Oklahoma 11, BYU 12, Utah 13, Vandy 14. Miami moves up from 18 to 15. Georgia Tech at 16. They get jumped by Miami. USC 17, Michigan 18. And then here are the ones, Kenton, and obviously both of these teams failed to take care of business this past weekend. Home losses to sub-500 ACC teams. Virginia falls to 19 after losing to Wake Forest. Louisville falls to 20 after losing to Cal. Then you've got Iowa 21, Pitt at number 22, Tennessee 23rd, USF 24th, Cincinnati 25th. Now, the team that holds all the wild cards is Pitt, Kenton, because Pitt, they still have a chance to win the ACC, which would get them a bid more than likely. They also have a chance to give Notre Dame their 3rd loss of the season this weekend. We'll talk about PAT NARDUZZI in a second. He's soft. And they also have an opportunity to knock Miami out of the college football playoff. They play the final week in Pittsburgh. But before we rant about Narduzzi, though, what is this? I mean, first of all, I think the big winner from the ACC point of view, the big winner was Miami. Because I think being up at number 15 now, and to be fair to Miami, I know we're wondering why they moved ahead of Georgia Tech. Miami should not have been ranked as low as 18 last week in the first place, so I think there was course correction. Miami's a 2-loss team with a head-to-head win against Notre Dame, with a ranked win against USF, who's climbing up the table. Right, so Miami has good wins, and their losses, I know people say they lost to a couple of unranked at the time teams, but Louisville is ranked now at number 20, and SMU is not far from being ranked. That's another winning program. So the losses aren't good. Miami was favored, but the losses aren't terrible. There are teams with worse losses in this field than Miami. So, Kenton, I feel like at number 15 for the Hurricanes, even without a clear path to win the ACC championship, I think Miami's in a great spot for an at-large bid, because if the Hurricanes do win out and go 10-2, which is an if, right? Difficult games in front of them. Your NC State. I think Pittsburgh's going to be a very difficult game at the end of the year. But if Miami wins out, I can see them climbing into an at-large bid, because Oklahoma, Texas still have really tough games left to play. Vanderbilt still has a tough game left to play. Like, there's going to be teams in front of them that will likely lose and give Miami an opportunity to climb into the field.
Absolutely, Miami will have an opportunity to climb in the field. And the biggest thing that I want to emphasize here, we should be judging these teams based off of the information that we have, not the information that we thought.
Right.
If we judge these teams and who has what left off the information we have, Pitt is one of the tougher outs in this season.
Yes.
So far, that's what they have shown. That is a quality win, as opposed to, and this is, I could not believe this when I saw this, Donno. When I tell you, I was legitimately in disbelief about this. So on the year, the Vanderbilt Commodores have a total of 2 ranked wins. Those 2 they have a total of 3 ranked wins, rather. They have a total of 3 ranked wins. Only one of those ranked wins came against a team that currently has a winning record, and only one of those wins came against a team that still has their head coach or has a winning record. You see what I'm saying?
I saw that stat. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, they're so this is what I mean in terms of, I don't like preseason polls at all. Even though it keeps you guys like you and me getting paid, I still don't like it, because it gives people this false impression of, oh yeah, you beat a great South Carolina team. Well, how's that going? Oh yeah, Pitt's nothing. Pitt's not. They're not going to be good. Hosting may be good. He may not be good. But we don't know that team. And what have they done? What have they done? Right? It's and the worst part about all of it is there's so much brand bias that goes into the rankings that then goes into factoring who goes where and who's what, that we're watching all of these SEC teams be ranked that if they were in the ACC, even if they had the exact same schedule, you just change that patch on their chest and nobody would think to spit on their schedule and say it's a decent one. And so, ultimately Miami is in a great spot. And they have a big enough brand to get in that large bid. And let's be real, Donno, because of how this thing shakes out and how the committee is acting, Miami is the only team that can get an at-large spot. I love Georgia Tech. I think that they play phenomenal football. And if they beat Georgia, that's their only path to an at-large bid. That's their only path. No other ACC team has a path to an at-large bid. I'm sorry. It's unfortunate. It's a shame. They deserve it because the more I look at these other conferences, the more I say they look funny and alike. But right now, Miami is positioned very well for an at-large bid.
Yeah, you're right. The only way the ACC gets two teams in is if Miami is one of them at large, and and Miami has to win out. Not a guarantee. They have to do that. NC State this weekend for Miami. At Virginia Tech the following week, and at Pittsburgh to end the year. I think if Miami wins those 3 games, they're more than likely in. Now, we mentioned Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has an opportunity to disrupt not only Miami, but they have an opportunity to disrupt Notre Dame this weekend. You got to hear what PAT NARDUZZI, though, said, the Pitt head coach. Kenton can tell me if I'm overreacting, but Coach Narduzzi completely lost my respect. You want to keep it locked right here. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Folks, when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts for a fast project, parts fast for a project, Supply House has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. The Part Finder tools and 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Join their free Trade Master program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen. Make sure for your next listen, you check out our other shows. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone host Locked On Wolfpack. I host Locked On Canes. We're available wherever you get your podcasts and available on YouTube. All right, so in his weekly press conference, PAT NARDUZZI, whose Pittsburgh Panthers are about to host Notre Dame, a college game day there. It's a huge game. Now, I guess in this day and age, from Narduzzi's point of view, and from the point of view, I would imagine Manny Diaz shares this point of view, given that his team has a terrible non-conference resume, but an opportunity to win the ACC. So a reporter asked him, and kind of a dumb question, but an even dumber answer to this question. They asked him if the game against Notre Dame is a must-win for Pitt. And I don't know, hearing a lot of coach speak over the years, Kenton, I would expect the answer to be like, you know what? We approach every game like a must-win. We give our best each and every Saturday. Instead of saying something like that, and I guess I can credit Narduzzi for not going the coach speak, but he took it somewhere I didn't expect him to take it. He said, absolutely not, it's a must-win. And he explained, I'd gladly get beat. He said this, I'd gladly get beat 110-10 in that game as long as we win the next 2 after that, prioritizing the ACC victories over the non-conference. I don't know, Kenton, you've been around a lot of coaching throughout your life, Cas Tech and NC State and all Pee-wee ball that you played. How many coaches did you ever have that went into a game saying, you know what, we might lose this one by 100, but it doesn't matter. It's the next one that counts.
This is why I say Narduzzi will give you a tale of two cities as a coach. because he has moments where you look at him and you say, I want to run through a brick wall for that guy. And then he has moments like this where you sit there and scratch your head and say, how in good faith can you sit here and say, we could lose this game by 30? It doesn't matter. I'm focused on the next two.
Not by 30, by 100.
By 100. I'm sorry, by 100, and worry about the next two. There's a championship standard and a championship mentality. And oddly enough, Coach Narduzzi is the last ever Coastal head coach to win an ACC championship. Oddly enough, it is just a factual statement. Regardless of how you want to cut or slice it, no other Coastal coach has done it. Nobody else will do it because the Coastal no longer exists, technically. Yeah. But with that being said, this is not championship mentality. This is not the mentality of a team that wants to make the playoffs, and I mean at a serious clip, and be competitive in a playoff game. You don't just, oh, well, it's an out of conference. And no. Why would you care? Why would you not care if your team gets beat by 100? Yeah. You pay your guys too. Y'all got NIL too. There's a reason it's not called Heinz Field no more, and you play there. It's about the money, and you know. So to see this team, or to see Narduzzi say this rather, and I truly hope that this is one of those situations, because Donno, you corrected me on some context last week for Miami, and so I hope that somebody has some context on some quote on these quotes for Narduzzi to say, hey, the frame of it, they said, would you care if you lost this one and then won the next two, or which would you prefer? Because maybe that would make it better. But even then, even still, it's like, no, we want to win every game.
Yeah.
You know what my Coach Thomas Wiltshire, love you. I know you're listening, Coach. You know what he told me in terms of whether or not we wanted to win every competition? We were at a track meet, and they said that it was going to be a big man relay there. So it was me and 3 other linemen running up against the fastest guys in the city. There was no big man relay. It was just us, okay?
Oh.
And now we get beat by a country mile because, mind you, I'm the anchor, and I'm not going to lie and say I was like the fastest guy in the universe. I was not. I was fast for a defensive lineman. We got kids in Detroit that got speed, okay?
Sure.
And when I finish, our coach brings us all in, and he says, big fellas, I love the effort. But next time y'all better finish somewhere besides last. And we're sitting up there. We all got 100+ pounds on the guys we're running against. And he said, I don't care if it's a pissing competition. Y'all better be standing up against the fence with water jugs and water pills, because that's the mentality of a champion. Yeah. I want to win every rep. I want to win every play. I want to win every game. Not, well, I'll strategically lose this game, and then I'll win this one, because this one is the one that – get that out of here, Narduzzi.
Yeah, and like I don't even like that being put in the universe, I want whoever wins the ACC, I want it to be just a good representative for the conference, right? I mean, you got the possibility of a 4-loss Duke Blue Devils team. 3 of their losses are non-con. They could theoretically win the ACC championship, but like Duke has been so bad out of conference, Kenton. They've lost to UConn, lost to Tulane, got it's turnovers, but they got blown out. The scoreboard said they got blown out by Illinois. Like, they've been so bad non-conference. There's a chance that if Duke wins the ACC, they might not even make the CFP, because it's the top 5 highest ranked conference champions. The Power 4 are not guaranteed bids. And so then, and listen, like Pittsburgh, the loss to West Virginia was rough out of conference, but like if they lose to Notre Dame, they're not going to lose by 100, obviously. But if they lose by 30, 40 points and they end up winning the ACC, it's not a good look for the ACC. So do you want to talk about the standings, Kenton, when we come back? Because it's interesting, because the ESPN college football bracketology somehow has Miami as the only ACC team in their bracket, even though Miami only has like an 8% chance to actually get to the ACC championship game. Let's set the record straight when we come back. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new Locked On ACC. Guys, the NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On ACC your first listen. All right, so Kenton, as we know, there are no unbeaten in-conference teams left. Everybody's got at least one conference loss. Virginia suffered their first this past weekend against Wake Forest. So atop the standings right now, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, 5-1 conference record. The Virginia Cavaliers, 5-1. Pittsburgh Panthers, 5-1 in the ACC. SMU, 5-1. Can they get back to the title game for the second straight year? The Duke Blue Devils, 4-1 in conference. Louisville, 4-2. Miami, 3-2. And then you've got Wake Forest, 3-3. Cal, 3-3. Clemson, 3-4. Virginia Tech, NC State, North Carolina, all 2-3. Stanford, 2-5. Florida State, 1-5. Syracuse, 1-5. Boston College, 0-6. So you have 5 teams right now, Kenton, with one conference loss. Which 2 do you think are going to get to Charlotte?
You know, honestly and truly, I see this as Georgia Tech, and I hate to say it. I hate to say it. Who does Duke have left on their schedule, Donno?
I will tell you in 1 second.
Well,
all right, so they've got Duke is at home against number 19 Virginia, at North Carolina, and home against Wake Forest.
I hate to say it. We're probably going to end up with Georgia Tech and Duke. I hate to say it. I hate to say it, Donno.
And that's a rematch, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see 2 teams that haven't played each other this year. Huh?
Yeah. I hate to say it, Donald. But those are 3 games that Duke is probably going to be favored in. And I think I hope that Virginia hasn't let go of the rope. I would love to see Virginia there. I really would. I would love – I think Georgia Tech, they've got the most comfortable way in. I really and truly do, because amongst the teams that have only one conference loss, I feel the best about Georgia Tech on any given day. I really do. Given the fact that their Achilles heel is their passing game and their ability to stop the run, I'm pretty sure that Coach Key will get that put together. He'll figure it out. And Haynes King, with all due respect, I think it was more so a matter of he didn't have to throw the ball at a high clip, more so than he cannot do so. But after seeing the NC State game and after seeing, hey, when you get down, you're going to have to do that, I think they'll be a little bit better in that area going forward.
I'm a little concerned, though, because they still have 22nd ranked Pitt. It's a home game, but I think that's a losable game. Like, that might be a toss-up game. Their other conference game is at Boston College, which is the free space on the bingo card this year. But the Pitt game,
here's why I say that. Here's why I say that. Okay, Pitt, they have the potential to beat them. Explosive passing game, linebacking core that can stop the run. That's what the blueprint seems to be, and you know they have that. However, Narduzzi just exposed the loser mentality that's going to permeate throughout that locker room. You don't lose a game by 30 this late in the season and then come back and win a championship off of that. You just don't. Yeah. You don't. I'm sorry to tell you, if you've got bad habits in week 11, getting beat by 30 in week 11, you could tell yourself, well, I'll just focus and lock in on the last 2. Your team won't. Yeah. The residuals of that behind kicking will carry over. So there's that. But I do think Georgia Tech gets in because, again, they have been dominant all year. And by dominant, I don't mean running the score up, winning by 60 and 50 on teams. I mean, they have found ways to win. And for the most part, most of those games, they've been in control of for a good amount of it. Yeah. The Wake Forest game is probably the one game I would say they didn't have any control of. Got some good breaks down the stretch. Good breaks being bad ACC officiating. Let's be honest. Yeah. Down the stretch. But other than that, they've been good. Duke, on the other hand, I just think that they've struggled too mightily out of conference to come back in conference and, again, just right the ship out of nowhere. The only other team that I would say could sneak their way in because of their schedule only, SMU. SMU has an opportunity to get at all the teams that they need to beat, and they already have a head-to-head win over one of the other 2 lost teams in Miami. So if it is to be who's going to get in between those 2, SMU gets the nod.
Yeah, SMU has their home. They only have 2 games left. They're both conference games. Home against 20th ranked Louisville. It's a tough game, and at Cal, which Cal's like a wild card. Cal could lose or win on any given Saturday. You don't know what
You
Cal you're
never
going to
know.
get.
You never know with Wilcox and the boys, but that SMU squad, that Louisville game is of vital importance. That is a vital,
it's a huge game.
That's everything. That's the season. That's the ACC Championship right there. If I'm SMU, every game from now on is the playoffs. Every game is the playoffs. If you are serious about it, every game is the playoffs. They can make it, but Louisville is going to be a tough task to get over.
Well, and don't you think in the case of SMU, just having gotten there last year and, many of the same players back, most importantly, your quarterback, Kevin Jennings, having gone through that gauntlet first year in the ACC, getting to the college football playoff, I feel like that experience is valuable, right? It's something that, the other teams in the field have not done, right? Because it was Clemson and SMU last year. Clemson's out of it now. So I think for SMU, that experience is going to help them down the stretch.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Playoff experience would not help Clemson this year. They're going to compete in the Macron Bowl. But you talk about what SMU did last year. That's a winning culture, Donno. Winning in the American, dominating that conference, dominating being in back-to-back conference championships there, and then coming to the ACC, continuing saying, hey, we are a winning program. This is the standard at the Pony Express. Roll with it or get rolled over. That is what champions are made of. That's what champions are made of. Did they start off the season in a very disappointing fashion? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have they been disappointments out of conference? Absolutely. Not denying that at all. But when we look at the constitution of that team, when we look at the makeup of that team, like you said, you've got the experience, you've got the quarterback, the defense is coming along. I think they can get it done.
Yeah, I think they can too. It'll be interesting to see. Let's take a look at the quick schedule for this coming weekend, which we'll talk about more later on this week on Locked On ACC. Big game for Louisville on Friday night. They host Clemson. Clemson, again, like they're having a bad season, Kenton, but they're still a team that has enough talent to beat anyone in the ACC. Like I favor Louisville. Louisville's 2.5-point favorites at home, which kind of tells you the bettors think it's a toss-up, right? You usually get about 3 points at home. They're 2.5-point favorites. So that one is being looked at like a toss-up. Other games for this weekend, you've got, as we talked about, number 9 Notre Dame at 22nd ranked Pitt, College game day. Notre Dame's favored by 12.5. They might as well be favored by 100 if you listen to Pittsburgh's head coach. Notre Dame minus 100 should be the line there. NC State at number 15, Miami. Dave Doran can play spoiler for Miami's slim hopes. Miami favored by 14.5, which I think it's too big of a number. But I say this every week, Kenton. I think for Miami has been a Jekyll and Hyde team, and yet they're favored by 2 touchdowns plus every single game. I don't fully understand it, but it happens every week.
Let me tell you something. Fade knows Miami spreads, not the money line. Fading the Miami spread is good eats. That's good eats right there, because they're gonna give it to you every time. And there's been a weird occurrence, Donno, with 3 games this year, or not 3 games this year, with 3 games in very recent history. Miami has had massive line drops out of nowhere, and that, my friends, is interesting. It's all 3 of those games turned out to be upsets against Miami too.
God, I wish I had my tinfoil hat standing by, because
I'm just saying, if there's a time, take it early. When that Miami line is first announced, fade them points early. Kenton Gibbs said it first. Do so responsibly now.
Yeah.
Don't you be a gambling degenerate betting the mortgage, but do so responsibly, and you'll be getting some good eats in no time.
I'm like 1 page into a 100-page expose, but can I give you a quick teaser on this? If I can go down the conspiracy corner for just a second, right?
Okay, we got Miami Condor Stallions in the building. Go for it.
So, all right. So in these games, when there's a conspicuous line drop, like on game day, right, where Miami's favored by 14.5, and then suddenly the number's 11 a couple hours before kickoff, and normally when you see a line make a drastic move like that, you're finding out pregame, oh my God, injured. Like their quarterback is injured, right? Yep. There's that's not what's happening here. But do you know what does get announced a couple of hours before kickoff?
The referee crew?
The referee assignment.
And
would you also like to hear, Kenton, that the team that has the widest gap in the entire country in penalties called against you versus penalties called against your opponent, the team with the widest gap, do you know which team that is?
That's definitely Miami. Yeah.
33. They've had 33 more calls go against them than for them. So that's page 1 of the 100-page expose. We'll get to 2 through 99 on a later episode.
For those of you who are listening and not watching, Donno has on his glasses today because he's doing the knowledge. He's got those 3D futuristic glasses. Jarvis is installed inside of them. And by Jarvis, I mean Jarvis Davis and Jarvis from Iron Man. Yeah. They're both in there feeding them information. They're crossbreeding information. I see what's going on here, Donno. In all seriousness, I would say Miami's probably going to win that game, but 14 feels like a lot, especially given their pace of play. Especially given like how they like to do things. I don't really see a 14-point win coming out of that. And CJ Bailey, everybody knows he had Miami recruited him harder to start with.
Yeah.
That recruitment might have ended up different. Thank God you didn't, Mario. We're glad to have him. We're glad to have him.
Couldn't get him then. We can get him later, perhaps.
Hey, watch out. Watch out. See, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Donno. Now, when I make a trip down there to Florida, don't nobody say nothing. You know what I mean? Because me and Mario already had our little spat. So I guess I'm going to just have to roundhouse these hands while I'm down there in Miami. Don't worry about it. I'm going to come see about you.
We appreciate Kenton Gibbs as always. Make sure you follow him on X at TGIF_Kenton. Follow him at Locked On Wolfpack. Follow me on X at Alex Donno and at Locked On Canes. We'll talk to you next time right here on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Your team every day.
We're number one.